are we supposed to accept that some people just don't have the capability to apologize? And why don't they have the capability? Like, is it a stubborn thing, or is it seriously because they can't handle it? And that is where it gets interesting, right? Like, is it because they don't have the capacity to handle the upset that or the discomfort that apologizing comes with? Or is it because they just simply don't care enough about you or whoever they're not apologizing to? Are you somebody who can't apologize? Like, maybe you can put your 2 cents in, but like, I know, like, for me, I can be stubborn, but I will apologize. Like, I do have it in me, and I feel like I'll be stubborn in the sense of I really have to sit with it, and I have to think about it, and I have to say, okay, do I really believe I'm wrong? Which most of the time I try to find a way to blame myself, just because I try to put myself in that person's shoes, so I can get on their level, so I can see like how they might feel about the situation. And if I come to the conclusion that I'm wrong, or if I come to the conclusion that I feel like I should apologize, then I will. But if I don't, is that because I'm stubborn, or is that because I can't handle it? Which I know I can, because I know I have the capability to apologize, and I also know that I'm a little bit stubborn. But then there are people, we all know them. Don't pretend that you don't, and it might be you. But there are people who absolutely will not take accountability for their actions, and they are never wrong, ever. And it gets to a point where you have to think, is that because they're playing a mind game, or they're trying to manipulate the situation? And if they are, why? Why aren't they? Why are they trying to manipulate the situation so they don't have to apologize? Because it's simple, right? It's I'm sorry. It's literally those 2 words, I'm sorry. And for some people, it is impossible for them to achieve that, right? So I'm sorry can't come from someone who doesn't like to be uncomfortable, or doesn't have the ability to be uncomfortable with themselves. So like, someone who doesn't apologize for the longest time, there are certain people that I know that they just won't apologize. And, they just don't. And those people I always looked at as like, oh, this is somebody who, they stand their ground. Like, they're strong. They stand their ground. And if they don't feel like they're wrong, like, they're not going to apologize. And then, like, you have to start thinking about it in this article. And it said, like, they're actually not strong people. They're weak. They're very, very weak people, because their mind is weak. And that is because they refuse to sit in the discomfort. So somebody who can't apologize they can't apologize because they won't lower themselves, because in their mind, apology is an admission of guilt, and they are shaming themselves, right? So once you admit that you're guilty, now you take on those feelings of shame, right? Because we all do that, right? At least, somebody who, generally, we all do that, okay? So when you apologize, you are admitting that you're guilty, which then causes you, not the other person, that causes the person who is apologizing to have the feelings of shame. And if you have low self-esteem and you're not comfortable with yourself, you're not comfortable in your own skin, you already have self-doubt. Now you're pulling shame into it. So the shame is making you incapable of being able to apologize. And that goes into your low self-esteem, and that gives you that is a weak-minded person. Like, a weak-minded person cannot apologize because they cannot take it. Mentally, they cannot handle it. And because they can't handle it, they hurt other people. And the person that they hurt, that they should be apologizing to, I believe, now maybe you all might think something different, but I believe that they are, that person isn't a factor in the situation. As much as Like they can think over and over and over again in their head, like, oh, she's wrong, or he's wrong. Like, I don't need to apologize to them because they did me wrong. But if that person is the person that never, ever, ever finds themselves accountable and they never apologize, like they're never in the wrong. If that's the person who's saying like, she's wrong, I'm not apologizing, she's really not, or they really aren't taking her or him into consideration, right? That's not even a factor. The factor is their feelings and how they can't handle it. So now if you know somebody who just won't do that, they just won't apologize, whether that be your spouse or your brother or whoever, if you know somebody who just won't, and you know, like you either have to forget it and move on with your relationship with each other, or you just choose to not talk to that person anymore. That's usually how it ends, right? For somebody who doesn't apologize, and for the people that they have relationships with, you have to get past it, which usually means we're going to sweep it under the rug, or you have to face it and maybe walk away from that relationship, right? So the person who was hurt in the situation, who is waiting for the apology that's never going to come, they're not even part of this equation, unfortunately. They're not part of it because they didn't cause the feelings of shame. They didn't cause for that person to feel inadequate or to have low self-esteem or and this is all just me saying what I think. I'm not a therapist, but according to what I read, they didn't cause these problems. They didn't cause these things. So that person, that insecure person that just won't apologize, they're not thinking, oh my gosh, like I hurt them so much, I need to apologize. Because that's what we do, right? Like we think that way when we know that we've done wrong. Right? But they don't think that way. They think like, she's wrong, I'm not apologizing. She can come to me. And you know what? If she doesn't want a relationship with me, fine, peace. Like that's the mentality. That's the way that goes. Right? And the whole time, nobody's questioning like, why? Why is it so hard for those two words to come out? And why is the feeling of shame controlling the situation? And shame is another part of this because so many times, especially with social media, we, and by we, I mean everybody, find ways to shame people that we don't even know, that we're not even really associated with. We just hit the follow button and we don't like something that they posted. So now we feel, because that's public, that gives us the right to shame them. Right? And people can say, oh, it's just somebody, it's just a comment. It's just a mean comment. It's just something somebody said. But like 50 mean comments turn into something that lasts for possibly a lifetime. Who is it? They say like 1,000 attaboys is not equal to 1 you're an idiot. So like you're an idiot is going to stay with you longer than one time somebody told you you're dumb. You're more likely to believe that than you are to believe that you were that attaboy, like you did a great job. And it takes a lot to undo those things. So the shame that basically society puts on each other plays a role in this. So the inability to apologize to someone goes a lot deeper than just who's right and who's wrong in the situation. In fact, a lot of times that's not even part of it. It's really part of us being a self-esteem issue, or, people are scared of being shameful. And on the other end of that, you have somebody who doesn't have low self-esteem, who has no problem apologizing, who actually, maybe they might even over apologize because they don't want that person to feel an ounce of pain, or they don't want that person to feel like that they purposely hurt them. So they'll be very quick to apologize, or they will over apologize. And that makes you think too, because you have somebody, it's two ends of the spectrum. You have somebody who is willing to put themselves out there and possibly be rejected. And then you have somebody who won't even try. They just shut the door and that door is never opening again. And it does make you think, and one of them has high self-esteem and one of them has very low self-esteem. So the person with low self-esteem, you would think, would be the one to apologize more. And the person with high self-esteem, you would think, would be conceited and never think that they had to apologize, right? For me, I always thought that would be the opposite. The one with low self-esteem is going to apologize more. The one with high self-esteem is never going to apologize because they feel like they don't need to. But that's the backwards way, right? Do you guys see any of that? Maybe, or maybe it's the wrong article, wrong day, wrong time. No, it really was insightful because it's basically just reiterating, basically it's validating you because somebody else won't. So somebody else refuses to validate you because in a way they feel like it devalues them. But what are they causing in the long run? What kind of pain, what kind of hurt, what kind of turmoil is eventually being caused? And so many things can be solved immediately with I'm sorry. Sometimes you don't have to be right. Sometimes you are wrong, period. And so many times it can be solved with I'm sorry. But the ego gets in the way. And the ego stops you from saying, you know what? I'm just gonna bury the hatchet. I'm just gonna say I'm sorry, and we're gonna see, and I'm gonna mend the fence. But your ego gets in the way, and your ego is weak. And so we try to feed the ego, and we try to please that part of our psyche, and in turn we really do damage to the other person, right? Apologizing is so simple, so simple. And we make it so complicated because we are more concerned about who's right and who's wrong or who's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. And that's where it is. We are scared to be uncomfortable. That's why you haven't left the relationship that you're not happy in. That's why you don't apologize. That's why you stay at a job that you hate, because you don't want to feel that discomfort. You don't want to feel any of the kickback that you're going to get if you make the other decision, if you go the other way. If you say I'm sorry first, that person will always know that you said you're sorry first, and they'll always think that they're right. Right? If you leave your job, even though you hate it, you might lose some income. You might struggle with your bills for a little while. But so it's better for you to live the way you're living than to feel a little bit of discomfort financially, which I understand completely. Or you stay in that relationship because you don't want the pain of them not being there. Even though it makes you unhappy, you'd rather be unhappy in your relationship and deal with the bullshit than leave, feel uncomfortable for 6 months and bounce back. So rather than apologizing, you destroy a friendship or a relationship because you're too proud to say, my bad, I'm sorry. Makes you think, right? And if you are one of those people who can't apologize, what do you think your problem is? And I don't mean that in a nasty way or a vicious way. Like, I'm very interested to know, like, what if you are somebody who very rarely apologizes or never apologizes at all, what do you think the issue is? Because it is an issue, I promise you. Nobody, like, I'll joke all the time and I'll be like, I'm always right. But that is seriously me kidding. I know that I'm wrong. Everybody is wrong. Nobody is perfect. And we all make mistakes. And in order to keep a healthy relationship with anybody, our kids, our family, our spouses, like in order to hold and to keep a healthy relationship with them, we have to be able to admit when we misstep. And we have to be able to learn from that so our relationships can be stronger. And if we're not willing to admit that, we're never going to evolve in ourselves, and we're never going to be able to evolve as a couple, in a relationship, in a friendship, anything. Like it's just, you're hitting a wall. The relationship can never thrive. And like, if you're mad at your child, or if you're mad at your significant other and you never apologize for something that you know you did wrong, or maybe you don't want to face that you did wrong. Well, maybe you need to just sit with it for a little bit and think about the situation and be uncomfortable. Have that uncomfortable, confrontational discussion. It is okay. It's okay for you to be uncomfortable. I'm letting you know right now, be uncomfortable. It will open up your eyes to so many things, and it will make you stronger mentally and physically. So don't be scared to be uncomfortable. You're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to learn how to navigate through different relationships, through life, and you should be able to apologize and admit your shortcomings. And if you can't, I would really love to know why you feel like you can't apologize. And you don't have to say that here, like some people, they don't want to put themselves out there. But like I said, email me and let me know, because I'm very, very interested. And I would love to do like another show on that, or another talk about that, to see, what it feels like for the person who doesn't apologize or doesn't acknowledge that they're wrong. Because that's part of it too. Like, some people don't apologize simply because they don't believe that they're wrong. And that's okay. But if you never believe that you're wrong and you'll never say that you're sorry, something is wrong, and you need to recognize that and correct it. That's part of our world. That's part of life. Correcting something that we did wrong so we can learn from it and do better next time. That is literally part of life. And if we don't do that, what are you doing? And furthermore, if you have children, what are you teaching them? I don't know about you, but I want my kids to know that when I'm wrong, I apologize. And like, for me, I will admit, for the longest time, I didn't apologize to them because I didn't want them to think that I was wrong. And then a few years ago, I went through like really traumatic stuff, and it was like a bad divorce. And I felt the need to apologize to my children, and not the little ones, but my older one, like especially her. I wanted to apologize to her because I was checked out for a little while, and that was a rough situation for me. And I feel like I was a little bit selfish at that time because I checked out, so I had to communicate that with my daughter. And, I did. I told her, I'm sorry that I wasn't more available for you during this time. And she, of course, she's like this bubbly, awesome personality. And she was like, Mom, don't worry about it. But like, I am worried about it. And that's why I'm apologizing to you, because when you're 40 and you're thinking back on this, I don't want you to think that I didn't care, but she maybe she didn't notice anything, but I noticed. And then I noticed that like, it is okay for us to say, I'm sorry to our kids. And it shows them that, there is strength in apologizing, and there's comfort in apologizing. There's so many things that those two little words can solve in an instant. People just want to be validated most of the time. Sometimes, of course, there are exceptions to everything that I'm saying. And I know a lot of you are going to come for me in the comments, and that's okay. But like, I know that there are exceptions to everything. And I know that, sometimes you don't want to apologize, and sometimes you're not wrong. But sometimes you just need to pick your battle. Sometimes you have your child who needs you, and maybe you said the wrong thing, or maybe you did the wrong thing, or maybe you did the right thing. You just hurt them. It doesn't matter if you were right or wrong. The problem is that you hurt that person and you're refusing to recognize that you hurt that person. You're skipping over it and saying, I might have hurt you, or I might have done this, but. You can't do that because the but doesn't matter. All that matters is how that person feels, and that person feels like they need an apology from you. That person feels like you did them wrong. Even if you feel like you didn't, maybe you didn't. They need to hear it from you. They need to be validated. They need to feel like you love them. They need to feel like they mean something to you, because if you don't apologize, they're going to think you don't care. And that is terrible. There is no worse feeling than somebody that you love wanting an apology from them or wanting to be validated from them and then not getting it. And in your mind, you know, they don't love me back. That's the long and short of it. Like, you make that other person feel like they don't love you back, or you don't love them back, because you're refusing to apologize because you're right about something. Go ahead, be right. Go be right. And we'll see how lonely right is versus how welcoming wrong is. Okay? You can be right all you want, but when you're 80 and you have nobody by your side, does it matter? I don't think so. My kids, they will never feel like I won't apologize to them. That they will never feel like they are unloved. You know, and I would hate for anybody in my circle or my family or my friends to feel like I don't love them back. Because I know that feeling, and it is the worst. It is absolutely the worst feeling, because it's also a realization. When you don't get validation over and over and over again, and you don't receive the apology that you're looking for or that you feel like you deserve over and over and over again, you do come to a realization that these people or that person does not love you back. And if they do love you back, they're not loving you in the way that you need. And when you come to that, it's now a crossroad for you. What do you do with that situation? Do you continue to live in the sadness, or do you walk away? Because the truth of the matter is, if they can't be good to you now, they're not going to be good to you in 5 years. And if they're not changing, if they're not doing anything to correct it, it's never going to end. It's a vicious, toxic cycle that goes around and around and around. It took me a long time. I was in it more than once. And I kept finding myself in these toxic situations, and I didn't understand why. And I still struggle with it. I still don't understand why. Hence why I'm reading articles about apologizing. But I understand that if nobody's trying to change the behaviors, then nobody is trying to fix the situation, and we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep getting upset and arguing or fighting, or somebody feels bad, or somebody's hurt all the time, or somebody's kid is witnessing it, and it's just not, it's not a healthy way to live, and it's not a weight that you ever want on your shoulders, and it is completely 100% freeing when you exit that situation and you are okay with it. When I exit my situation, I know that I'm going to leave them right there. And if they choose to grow from it, great. That's wonderful. That's what they should be doing. But if they choose to never walk into my life again, I have to be okay with that. And you're not going to be okay right away. It takes a little, but you have to be okay with that. And somehow you have to find peace in knowing that walking away is going to give you some kind of relief. Because if you're never going to be validated, if you're always going to be wrong in every situation, if you're going to be the scapegoat, it is not worth you staying. Nothing is worth you staying in a situation like that. I don't care if you're wrong all the time. You should never be anybody's scapegoat. Ever. That also is an awful feeling. I'm going to see what everybody's saying. I know I just rambled on for like so long about that. Sorry. But let's see. Sorry, if I miss your question, just ask it again. I can definitely relate. Andrea, a lot of people don't want to admit when they're wrong or apologize because they live in the past. Yes, you are correct, Amanda. Very correct. Being uncomfortable can cause one to truly grow. That's exactly it, Susie. Like, we have to learn how to sit in our uncomfortableness. I don't even know if that's the proper way to say that, but we do. We have to learn to sit in our uncomfortableness and go through the emotions. So many people replace those emotions with whether or not they drugs or drinking, or maybe they go shopping or some kind of distraction so they don't have to feel. But really what we should be doing is anytime there's a traumatic break or split or anything like that, we need to sit in it. And we have to really feel it and accept the feelings as they come and deal with them head on. And until you do, nothing's going to change. It's just going to go around and around. And it's just going to hurt you more. You're basically hurting yourself. Stop it. Let's see. I went through that too. I can definitely relate. Andrea, I'm sorry. I had to do the same with my daughter, especially when my son died, because I went through something really dramatic and I found myself not being there as much. Yes, exactly. I apologize so many times, but my bestie does not acknowledge what she says. And that hurts me when I say, you hurt my feelings. Her reaction is stunned. Yeah. I mean, I can definitely relate to that, Christina. People, oddly enough, a lot of people get offended when you tell them that they hurt you. And then when they get offended, they become defensive. And then that's when the blame shifting starts. Not everybody does this, of course, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just speaking from my own experiences. So you tell them that they hurt you, then they're offended, okay? And then they get defensive and they switch it and it's all on you and the blame shifting and, well, you might think that this is wrong, but you did X, Y, and Z and I'm not really wrong no matter what you say. And it's like, wait a minute, what? We were just talking about how you hurt my feelings and now I'm having to defend myself because you felt hurt about something I did 5 months ago that you never mentioned ever, but now you're going to mention it because you don't want to be stuck in this uncomfortable feeling. It's a little immature, right? I think so. What do you do for the people that don't ever apologize to you and they hurt you? I mean, I choose to not associate myself with them anymore. And those decisions are never easy, but necessary. Yes, it's the worst feeling, Clara. You take the butt out of an apology to assure your sincerity. Yes, because when you say, I'm sorry, but it becomes so insincere. It becomes almost like a mocking. Like, I don't want your apology if there's a, but you did this, this, and this. That just means that you're so eager to get to your end that you're not focused on mine. And you really just didn't validate me. You just apologized to shut me up. That's not the same. That's not love. If you love someone, and you did them wrong, the apology should come. There should be no, but you did this, this, and that. No, like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Or, it's okay to say, I'm sorry. I did this because it was a reaction to this. Like, it's okay to explain. I have triggers all the time. And let me tell you, those are so uncomfortable. And sometimes I say things on the fly, or I get an attitude, or I say things a little bluntly, and I have to take a step back, and then I have to explain myself or apologize, because I know that I didn't handle that situation exactly the way I should have. There's so many better ways I could have dealt with that. But you have to be able to recognize it. And if you can't recognize what you do wrong, what are you doing with yourself? Like, you can't maintain relationships. There's no way, I promise you. If you cannot recognize what you've done wrong and take accountability for it, the relationships in your life will never last. And if they do, they will never be genuine relationships. Empathy towards others is admirable and does not show weakness. In fact, it shows strength and love. I agree with you completely, Anita. And hello, Anita. I felt this so much. Dominique, I'm happy you felt it. Me too. I'm all sweating over here. I'm like, woo, this conversation's getting heavy. If we don't have empathy, we teach our children not to have empathy. Exactly. And your children need that. Although sometimes I feel like sometimes they can be a little bit too sensitive, but you still have to honor their feelings. It doesn't matter how right you think you are. Especially if it's somebody who you have had a relationship with for years. Does it really matter at the end of the day how wrong you are? Or how wrong they are, or how right you are? It's not going to get you anywhere. You have to get past that part. How do you walk away when you love that said person so much that it will not let you? I guess false hope that is given from time to time. I completely understand what you're saying. And let me tell you, I lived in false hope for a really long time, like 9 years. Maybe 10, and I kept thinking that things were going to turn around or get better, or I would hold on to the glimmer of great or good things that would happen and ignore that all of the bad was happening, because I had just a glimpse of, just a little breadcrumb of the nice things. And then, but when you're out of it, and that takes time, and you really have to be in the right place to walk away from whatever relationship it is. And you have to be okay with knowing that you're not doing this to hurt anybody. You're doing this for yourself. And you can love someone from far away. I say that all the time. Like, you don't have to be next to them to love them. I'm not telling you to not love them anymore. I'm telling you, for your own peace, sometimes you just need to exit that relationship or exit that life. It's very important. If you're not good, you have to be good first. And if you're not good, nothing around you is ever going to get good. And holding on to the glimmer of hope, like I said, I did that for a really long time. And then it gets to the point where you will get to the point where you are so done that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you love them or how much you think that maybe one day they're not going to be this way anymore. That doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel. And once you feel good and you're okay with your uncomfortable feelings, and you know that once you come to that realization, you'll be able to walk away and still love them. You can love them without talking to them. You can, I promise. And it hurts and it sucks and it's a grieving process. Don't get me wrong, but you can do it. Sometimes you just need to wash your hands and be done. Yes. You'll probably never forget it. Yeah, it's true. You never will completely recover or forget them, or like all that is crap. But you will find a sense of self and peace. And that is what the goal is, We don't want to feel it. Yeah, we don't want to feel the uncomfortable. No, absolutely not. We actually fight it. And that it's a defense mechanism for us to go to a comfortable, happy place. But is it always the right decision? Just because it feels right or it feels comfortable, that doesn't mean it's the right decision, especially if it's messing up the rest of your life. Yes, grief does suck. I agree. I was taught not to say I'm sorry and had to learn to apologize. I'm still learning the correct way to apologize. Shay, I understand now that what they meant by not calling myself sorry or demanding myself, but it wasn't clear. Oh, of course. Yes. As a 6-year-old, I can see how you would totally get that wrong. And, but I think it's good that you recognize it and that you're saying like, this was my thought process at 6, which led to, basically an entire life of you not being able to apologize. And now you're relearning. And I think that there's a strength in that for sure. Yes, narcissists, a lot of that comes from being with somebody with narcissistic traits or somebody that is a full-blown narcissist. And that is never easy and it's not fun. I'm sorry, but it's combative. I agree with that 1000%. Blame shifting will compound the original hurt they caused you. Absolutely. Unfortunately, some people don't understand or have empathy. This is so true. This is so true. And sometimes blame shifting works. And that is the part. Like, people blame shift because they don't want the blame on them, but the person that they're switching it on, sometimes, a lot of times, they believe it. And they say, you know what? I was wrong. Like, this is my fault. I did do that, but they really didn't. And then you're causing more of a problem. Like blame shifting is never good. It's actually like a form of gaslighting, but it's never going to work if you can't be someone who can validate someone, or if you can apologize. Like, if you can't apologize, you need to figure it out, and you need to figure out why you can't apologize, and you have to start being honest with yourself. And a lot of times, if they're narcissists, they're not honest with themselves ever. They believe their own lies, and that's the scary part. But if they have a source, and they've had that source for a long time, and they blame shift, that source believes them. And that is where the toxicity grows. People who love you the most hurt you the most. Absolutely. They absolutely do. I really need this. I really did. Thank you for this. Oh, you're welcome, Christina. You're okay, Christina. You know what? You're good, girl. You're good. Like I said, you will get to the point where enough is enough. Everybody has their limits. Everybody does. And some people don't want to see it, but they eventually do, and some people it takes a year, some people it takes 10 years. I don't know. This is the exact runaround with my mother-in-law. She can't take accountability for anything. Completely distance myself from her the best I can. So, Crystal, I agree with you 100%. And, it's harder with your mother-in-law because you're married and you love your husband, and your mother-in-law comes with that. So it's hard, and I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, in a marriage, you and your husband come before anybody else. So he should be putting you before his family, and you should be putting him before your family. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm saying he should understand where you're coming from and back you up on that 1000%, because you deserve to feel good all the time, and you deserve to be validated. You deserve better. And if your husband knows that about you, he's going to stand with you and stand behind you, essentially. Totally agree. Debbie Jones. I always told my kids they can have a bad day and let me know if they're having a bad day. Yes, and that's the thing too. Like there's a difference between having a bad day and just being a shitty person all the time. And the worst part is that people refuse to look at it from that perspective. There's people who blame themselves for everything. Hello, I'd be that person. And then there's people who never blame themselves for anything. And they always find somebody else is the problem. Something else is the problem. It can't possibly be them. It's got to be something else. It's got to be someone else. It's got to be a situation. It's not their fault. Those people need to wake up. And sometimes we have to see you later. Sometimes that is just what it is. Sometimes they just need a little bit of therapy. They just need a little help. They just need a little kick. And sometimes we need to give them that kick. But that's not always. It's most of the time you have to exit, and you don't exit for attention. You exit for yourself. You exit so you can be okay. Not for the attention that might come with it, because you will. You're going to get unnecessary phone calls and from other people, and people are going to try to intervene or give you advice that you don't ask for, and that kind of attention is never fun, and you can't be leaving for that kind of attention. You have to remove yourself from the situation, because you have to be okay with you. You have to feel good about you. You have to be able to walk in a room and know that that person wasn't just telling a story, a made up story about you. And you have to be able to be comfortable with the people that surround you. And if you don't feel that way, I don't care who it is, you need to walk away from them. If you feel like that person is speaking poorly about you when you're not around, or they don't support you, or whatever, they make fun of you, or you're always the subject everywhere, get out of that situation, because that is a sickness that you can't fix. You can't make that person be better. You can't make that person apologize. You can't make that person hold themselves accountable. You can't. A lot of you watching me right now are fixers, and you try to fix people, and I understand, and I have a love for you, because hello again. But you cannot, some people just cannot be fixed, or they don't want to be fixed. You spend a huge chunk of your life trying to help somebody or fix somebody that they are so stuck in their ways or themselves, or they're entitled, and they're never, ever, ever going to make the change because they don't need to. Nobody shows them that they have to. So why would they? Why would you change the way you're acting? Or why would you change your way of life when there's no consequences to be had? If everybody accepts that, oh, they're just a liar, and they believe all the things that you say, or that maybe they don't believe it, but they just don't call you out on it, you have no motivation to stop lying, right? So you can't sit and keep holding on to the fact that you think that they can change one day, maybe. That's not living. For any of us, that's not living. It's not fair. You have a right to live your life, and you have a right to be happy. You have a right to be surrounded by people who adore you, who love you, who value you, who wouldn't do a thing to hurt you. And if they did, it would be an accident. An accident, not on purpose. And if it was an accident, they apologize because they love you. Anything other than that is not love. It's a problem. And that's where we get mixed up, because we get attached to the toxic, and that becomes our comfort. Okay, so rather than be uncomfortable in an untoxic environment, we stay with the discomfort, thinking that we're comfortable. So messed up. I know. I know it. You're saying all the right things. Well, Dominique, don't cry. But I'm happy if this gives you any kind of relief. Fear of the unknown sucks. It absolutely does. I mean, there's nothing worse than believing that you're going to be surrounded by the people you love for the rest of your life to one day be like, never mind, because this just isn't a good situation for me. This isn't okay for me. There's nothing worse. That is not a good feeling. But I promise you, if you're saying these things to yourself, you belong somewhere else. You belong in a room where you walk in and you make people smile. I promise that exists. I do. Yes, your love for a person doesn't change them. Thank you for that. I was trying to find the right words on that one and I just couldn't. Yes, fear is a liar. Fear is absolutely a liar, but you can get past that. You have so much inside of you that you suppress because of fear, and you have to let it out, because it belongs on the outside, not the inside. There's so many awesome things. And why should you tone yourself down or suppress yourself? Because some selfish, entitled person walked into your life and decided that they were going to treat you terribly and never be held accountable for it. F that. Go do your thing. Go do something for you. Go paint. Go meditate in the park. I'm serious. I know like some of you are probably laughing at me right now, but if you can do one thing once a week, even if it's for 10 minutes and it's just for you, take a bath or go to the movies by yourself or just sit in the car, just do something 10 minutes a week, 20 minutes a week. And then maybe that can turn into an hour a week. Do something for you. Just you by yourself. And I promise you'll start to see things a little bit clearer because you're separating and this is where your identity comes in. Yes, putting up with verbal and mental abuse is never worth it. I absolutely agree with you. It's not easy to cut ties. It's not. It does break you down. I love you, Tracy. Narcissists are dangerous. Yes, they are. I agree with that. Narcissist survivor, hit the road. Never mind, I'm out of here. Enjoy your narcissistic life. Good for you, Anita. Hi, Andrea. Hello. You should be a life coach. Maybe one day. Maybe one day when I got all my stuff together. One time my ex looked at me and said, no one will love you like I do. And I said, thank God. Girl, I feel that. I feel that right here. I feel that right here. I know what you mean. And yeah, you don't want that. You never want that again. That's part of you learning from it and growing from it. Sometimes we have to go through, and it sucks. Like, I always think about that. Like, how come it took me 9 years? Why did it take me so long? I should have known that in a year, in 2 years. I should have learned my lesson. It took me 9 years to even think about separating myself, and that's just one of the situations. There's plenty more we can keep talking about, because you know why? Because I attract those type of people. It's awful, but I do. But yeah, and you have to go through it, and you have to learn from it. And for some people it takes a year, and for some people it takes 9. Exit to save your sanity. Yes, Christina. I love that. Yes. Somebody write that down. Exit to save your sanity. I love that. When they say they love you but withhold love and affection and talk to you like trash, that's not love. No, it's absolutely not love. That is abuse on every level. I have this problem with my sister. We have been on and off for years. She's never understood my health problems because she never had to. She's always been very jealous of my children. They're all doing very well and her kid's not. I mean, I understand that. I do. I get that. Some people, it takes a little bit more time, and she might be jealous because she's unhappy. You know, that's where jealousy stems from. It stems from being unhappy. So feel sorry for her. You cannot fix people who don't want to be fixed. So true, Joe. Yes, nobody can actually look in the mirror and see what's wrong. That's true. I wouldn't say nobody. I feel like a lot of people self-reflect and afterwards they understand. But yeah, I do think that. I feel like a lot of people refuse to look at it from somebody else's point of view because they don't want to face it. They suck the life out of you. They sure do. They definitely do. Keep living your authentic self and embrace and cherish the moments shared. Yes, I agree with that, Susie. Susie Q. So yeah, I mean, I love everything you guys are saying in here, and I know that there's so many of us going through the same thing, and which is why I started this whole thing. So please make sure that you follow I have it on Spotify, the podcast. I have it on Apple, and here and on my link tree, which is pinned at the top of my page. Make sure you guys follow that and subscribe to that because you'll get the notifications every time something new comes out. And if you have any questions or if you want me to talk about your situation or anything, you can be completely anonymous. Email me. It's in my link tree. It's called Ask Angie. And I'll talk about it on my next thing. If you don't want to be mentioned, just write that in the email and I won't mention your name at all. But I love you guys and I appreciate you for being here with me. This was way more than I thought it was going to be. We went deeper than I wanted to, but that's okay. I will see you guys sometime next week and hopefully we have something juicy. But yes, I will talk to you later. Thank you guys so much. Be safe and be happy and do for you.